What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
It's time to level up with Dr. Mondo. Vover. What's good, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Level Up with Dr. Mondo. I'm your host, Armando Gonzalez, licensed therapist and CEO and founder of Cheat Code and the Cheat Code Foundation. You can follow us on Instagram at Cheat Code, like video game cheat codes. And I'm here today to talk to a man who, like myself, has really felt this giant calling and push in his life towards being a mental health advocate, but also like myself, has a story that goes well beyond just, this mission around mental health. Like, there's a personal connection in his story that led him to this point. He is a former collegiate athlete. He is now studying and pursuing a profession like myself in this field to help others in their mental health journeys. His story is one of the most incredible stories you will ever hear. It deals with suicide. It deals with depression. You're going to want to go follow him on Instagram and check out some of the recent content he put out that really tells that story in depth. We won't have time in our short form podcast to do that. His name is Tre Tipton, and I'm so excited to have him on this podcast. Tre, appreciate you, man, for joining us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Really excited.
Tre, how do people, we're going to get into today something that maybe you've never shared before in your mental health journey, which it would seem for someone like yourself that's so open about your mental health journey that you probably shared most of it, but we'll get into that in a moment. What are the things that you've become known for now? You're known for being an athlete. You're known for your experience with suicide attempts. Maybe share a little bit with people that don't know Tre Tipton about your backstory.
Just a little bit about my backstory, man. So I began on this long journey of depression and anxiety at a young age, back when I was about 7 years old. And then it traveled over to when I got into college, and it got really bad when I got to college. So my freshman year, I did some things to myself, my mental, that I wouldn't agree with now. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up going through a depressive state where I couldn't get out of this way of thinking, way of mind, and couldn't get out of my own way. So I was constantly battling myself, going through things with relationships, family, football, school, and it just wasn't adding up in my head. So I became very depressive, became very upset, had a lot of anxiety, and it ended up leading me into attempting my life 4 times.
Wow.
On those 4 attempts, man, I realized that I was struggling but didn't want to say anything. You know what I'm saying? And I always go by this analogy where my glass was overfilling. You know what I'm saying? Where I was constantly pouring in this negative energy, but I wasn't speaking into anybody. So the only thing that was happening is I was overflowing with emotion, overflowing with depression. So I was reacting and not knowing why I was reacting in the first place, just because I just had so much anger, so much sadness, so much depressive thoughts built up that I wasn't sharing it with anybody. So I was just handling everything on my own. So because I was handling everything on my own, man, I got to a point where I was just ready to give up. I was constantly battling my own mind, constantly going through war in my own head. And I felt like I was losing. I didn't feel like I was winning at all. I didn't feel like I was even giving myself a chance to win. And it got to a point where my first attempt, I put myself in a deep hole. You know what I mean? I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I wasn't really sure on how I felt, but I just knew that I wanted the pain to stop. So I was willing to do whatever it took for the pain to stop. And I put myself in a bad situation fast. And then my second attempt, it was more or less just, I kept feeling this pain. And because I chickened out on the first attempt, I'm like, okay, this time I'm actually going to go through it. And thank God that I didn't actually go through with it. I actually had a friend to make sure that didn't happen. But I put myself in a situation that I didn't necessarily need to be in. Put my family in a situation I didn't necessarily need to be in. You know what I'm saying? So it really tortured me in a way just to think that, like, okay, like I was hurting people around me, but also people only wanted to be around me because I was an athlete. And they only wanted to be around me because I was doing these things. I felt really alone in an area where I really wasn't that alone. You know what I mean? And then on my third attempt, man, it was something I don't really talk about often. And the reason why I recently just said 4 attempts instead of 3 is because the third attempt had somebody else in that situation. And she, thank the God, protected me from doing anything to myself, but on the back end, ended up harming herself. So that
Oh
was probably one of the
gosh.
hardest. That was probably one of the hardest ones for me to talk about. One of the hardest ones for me to really express on what I was going through, how I was feeling, like the strength that I had to find that I honest to God didn't have, and it was all through God. And on my final attempt, I was on a bridge that, if you look at my story, it goes more into depth on why I was on that bridge, where I was coming from, and what was going through my mind at that time. But that was the last time that I felt like I was going to be in that depressive state. I told myself I wasn't going back to what I was thinking about. I wasn't going back to the way of, I'm done, I give up, I want to kill. I'm not going back to that. There's no way I can. In my head, there's this analogy that I use, is that you have an option when you're going through depressive states. You can be a victim or you can be a fighter. There's one or two. There's no in between. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's either you're a victim or you're a fighter. And what do I mean by that? Is the fact that the victim gives up, and the victim looks at themselves and finds themselves worthless. But the reality behind everything is nobody's a victim. Everybody's a warrior, because every single day you wake up and you fight back. You don't fight back just saying that, like, oh, I'm mentally tough today. No, the fact that you even woke up today and got out of bed, you fought back. No one's a victim. So don't allow yourself to be a victim. I give people two options simply just because those two options have to be made up in your head. What are you going to do? Who are you going to be? And that analogy was tested just recently, you know, and really had to sit back and evaluate and reflect on myself. I just recently lost my mother probably 3 weeks ago, and
So
man,
sorry,
it,
brother.
it's hard, but it changed me. I can't explain to you how it really changed me, but it truly, genuinely changed me. Let me give you a little bit of insight on what I mean by that. So I had a feeling this was coming a while back, unfortunately. And
Really?
yeah, unfortunately, my mom never had told me anything, never had said anything, but I just had this hard feeling in my chest that, like, something crazy was about to happen. And I didn't know which way my life was about to transition. And the day of my mom's death, um, I was driving up to go see her anyway. I was on my way to go see her, and I had to go get her medicine so she can just be good and make sure that she was straight. So I was going to the CVS pharmacy. I pulled up to the CVS pharmacy, and I called my aunt. Called my mom 3 times. She didn't pick up. Then I called my aunt. I said, "Did you go out with my mom last night?" She was like, "Nah." I said, "Do me a favor. Call my mom 3 times. Get back to me." And this is why I say it's a godlike experience for me. And I don't know everybody's faith, but this is when God really showed me who He was. And I went to the pharmacy, grabbed the medicine from the lady at the counter. As soon as I grabbed the medicine from the counter, my dog was with me. My puppy that I had was with me because I was taking her up to go see my mom to make her happy. And I got this weird feeling that hit me from, like, I can't even explain the feeling, bro. Like, I really felt her soul leave Earth. And I looked to my dog and said, "Grandma's gone." I get a call
Oh,
30 minutes later. I get a call 30 minutes later from my aunt saying, "Get here now. Your mom's not breathing. I think she passed away."
oh my
So
God.
I jump in. I'm in the car. I hit 110. My car shuts down. I know nothing about cars. Like, when I say I know nothing about cars, I know absolutely nothing about cars. For some reason, in this moment, I knew everything I needed to know to fix my car to make it to home. And pulled over, fixed my car, shot back, hit 110, going the whole way to the crib. I called my uncle, said, "Yo, get to the crib now, get to the crib now." I told my whole family, "Get to the crib now." And the whole scene leading up to that moment of seeing my mom dead, like, I can still play it in my head as if it's like a movie. I'm driving and I see the ambulance on the left and my heart drops. I'm like, okay, like, just prepare yourself. It's going to be tough. And I jump out the car. I don't even let the car stop. Like, I literally just jump out the car, start booking it, hauling ass directly
Mhm.
into my mom's house. On my left is my aunt, my uncle, my other uncle's on the right on the porch. I see the police officer on the porch. My other aunts are in the corner crying. I see the police officer in the house is shaking his head. And I'm just hauling ass, boom, getting to my mom's house. I look to my left, my mom's laying there dead. And it just hits me. Like, it like doesn't just hit me, like, it kicks me off my feet. And, like, I just fall to the floor and I get back up. And I just remember screaming, "Mom, get up. Mom, please get up. Like, that's all I want you to do is just please get up." And I lost it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. This is just me just being honest. I completely lost it. It got to the point where I was throwing stuff in the house. I was losing myself. I was fighting my uncles because I was just so mad. Like, why now? Why? And I hauled
Yeah.
ass out of the house, walked up the street, and I had fell to my knees, man, and just started praying. It was like, God, like, I don't know what strength I'm going to need, but whatever strength I'm going to need, I need you to give me that strength. And I kid you not, Doc, it was like 5 minutes comes right into, bro. My whole demeanor, my whole everything changed, bro. I went back, I signed my mom's the little death sheet that she had to write. I had to write down her information. And then I watched them put the white sheet over my mom. And in that moment, when I seen her, the reason why I fell to the floor, and this is the reason why I said I seen God in my eyes, the fact that I seen in that moment the fear of God. I realized that, like, in that moment, the body in which my mom lived in was only a vessel. It's the soul that created the way that I feel about it. And I felt my mom's soul with me. I looked at that body, bro, and immediately in my head, I seen snakes. I didn't even see anything. It was really weird, bro. I seen snakes, and then and 2 minutes later, I seen God. And I was like, what was that? Like, it was like literally like, what was that? And it got to the point where when I went up the street and prayed, I came back and everybody was crying. I'm now holding up my uncle and my aunt in my arms, making sure that they're okay. I'm kissing them on the forehead and telling them it's going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? I'm holding up the people around me who should be holding up me up. You know what I'm saying? And that was not strength by me. That was strength by God. Then on the back end, I walk into the living room and I'm by myself now. And I'm just sitting here thinking about what I just saw. Like, genuinely thinking about, like, what did I really just see? Like, not necessarily that I just see my mom dead. What did I genuinely just see? And this is where I think, like, the God experience really kicked in for me. And I realized it was a God experience because my cousin who walked in, she was the only person, and it was the freakiest thing I ever experienced. Like, I'm not even going to lie to you. She was the only person in that whole house that was not crying.
Mm.
And my cousin loved my mom, but it didn't make sense and it wasn't adding up in my head. And then she walked up to me and was said exactly what I was already thinking. She was like, it's like seeing snakes, isn't it? And I was like,
What?
How did you know? Like, what are you talking about? And she's the only one not crying. It made no sense to me. My grandmother died 6 months before my mom had passed away. And she seen my grandmother die. And she was like, it was like seeing snakes for me, and I witnessed God. In that moment, I was like, I'm not tripping. Like, I realized I'm not actually tripping. So I continued to pray, and I was just like, God, like, I need your strength. I need your grace. I need anything that you could possibly give me. I'm not perfect by any means. I make my mistakes, but all I ask is for strength in this moment. The very next day, I had to set up my mom's funeral. I had to prepare everything for her. Then I had to set up the viewing. And within a week, she had the viewing, the funeral, and I lost my mom. You know what I'm saying? Everything was just back to back to back to back to back. And I was forced to handle it on my own. And but what's crazy is, like, all my friends were like, bro, you handled that so well. And I don't even know how I handled it that well, but I did. And even at my mom's viewing, I cried one time. It's when the first time I saw her, then after that, I smiled the whole time. And the reason being for smiling is the fact that, like, my mom genuinely had an impact on 400 people that came to her viewing during a pandemic. Like, hold on now. Let's get this straight. 400 people,
400
half of these
during a
people
pandemic.
I don't even know majority of these people. And what's crazy is I'm sitting on my mom's casket playing the host because I know people don't have the strength to walk up here and to see this wonderful, incredible woman passed away. You know what I'm saying? And there's ladies I didn't even know were falling into my arms that should be holding me, but in the same sense, they're not holding me. They're forcing me to hold them, and I'm okay with it. And it's not because it's me. It's because God gave me the strength to. I had to walk my grandfather up to my mom's casket to watch his daughter lay there. You know what I mean? And for him, like, he lost his mom 6 months before. It was my great grandmother who passed away, but I call her my grandmother. He lost his mom 6 months before and just lost his daughter. And he's trying so hard to be strong, but I just watch him break down, and I'm holding him and saying, Grandpa, we're going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay. Where does that strength come from? It's not from me. That's from the strength of God. Don't get it twisted, Doc. Every day since then has been a complete battle over and over and over and over again. But notice what I said. It's been a battle. It ain't been an ass whooping. And that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, I haven't sat here and just let my ass get kicked by my adversities. My adversities are what make me. My adversities is the reason why that I battle back. I fight back. I've never seen a warrior in my life that's actually been the warrior ever come back without scars. You see what I'm saying? So for me, like, I had to stand up, bro. The one thing that I learned more than anything from my mom's passing is It's always going to be a battle. But the reality behind life is, even from that moment in life, it's going to be worse at some point in time. It's going to be better at some point in time. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be all right. It's always going to be all right. And people would think, my friends got nervous because they knew my backstory. They're like, we don't want Trey to go into a dark space. And I was like, it's okay. I'm going to be all right. And they were like, how? We don't understand how you're okay. And I said, bro, it's not me. And I think that's what you're not understanding. It's not me. It's the fact that God presented me the power and the strength to be able to stand up over and over and over again. And what's wild about that whole experience is within 3 weeks, Doc, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to let you be with this one right here. Within those 3 weeks of my life, right? The week before, my little cousin overdosed. I had to go see him in the hospital to make sure that he was all right. And he put himself in a bad situation. The following week, my mother died. The third week after that, my eyes still a little bit messed up, but I had cellulitis in my eye, which was blinding, which was like causing me like a serious infection. They were like, yeah, we have to keep you a couple of days overnight. And the whole time I just kept smiling through it. And my family's like, bro, what's wrong with you? I said, bro, like, just wait until the bounce back. Just wait. It's crazy. And it's not that resilience takes effort. Realize what I'm saying. Resilience takes effort. In order for you to survive in your own life, you have to actually appreciate the moment that you're in, the pain that you're going through, and then realize that, okay, like, it's bad, but I can get back up. Because I don't lie to nobody about how I feel. I've been struggling. I've had tough times. I've cried. I've smiled. I've gotten up. I've been put the whole way down. But in the same sense, I'm not scared. And I realized in that moment on what God did for me, because the biggest fear in the world for me was losing my mom. And I lost her. But I didn't just handle it. I thrived through it. I helped my mom's people, my mom's favorite people. I was able to help them smile. At my mom's funeral, this is the first time I ever actually watched somebody be celebrated in death instead of mourned during a funeral. Everybody who came to that funeral came in there crying, but left there smiling. Never have I ever seen that before in my life. I had to say a speech and I had to let people know. I was like, we can't be crying right now. My mom partied to the day she died, bro. I can't make this up. My mom was a partier. The day before, my mom was out with her friends, and she went out with her friends, and her friends were like, she was having the best time of her life.
Wow.
I can't complain, bro. There's not much I can complain about. She gave me strength that I don't even know how I have this strength. A lot of people around me don't even understand what I'm going through right now, but the fact that I'm going through it and I actually feel like I'm gonna be okay is amazing to me. I don't even understand it within myself.
Yeah, I think there's so much there. And the word that comes to mind for the listeners on this episode of this podcast, Trey just threw a lot at you of what he's been through. And I think that a segment of it, some of us have never been through even a segment of what he's been through. And I think what I want listeners to take away from this episode of Level Up is that this word perspective, and your story is a testimony, right? It's a testament to your relationship to God and how God's shown up in your life. And like you said, everyone's got different spiritual beliefs. It ain't about converting people. It's just saying, like, look, this is my story. This is just what happened to me. That's all you could share, right? But it's a testament to your relationship with God, but it's also really giving people a vantage point and some perspective on potentially what they're going through right now, and saying, look, I'm hard pressed to believe there's many people listening right now that have been through more. And I know it ain't about that, but have been through more than what Trey's been through in his young life, right? Trey's been through a lot, but what he has as a result of going through that is a level of perspective. And that perspective, I think, is just so beautiful. That's the soundbite that people need to really listen to over and over and over. No matter how bad it is, there will be even worse. How's that a message of encouragement? There will be even worse. There will be even better. There will be these incredible days. There will be these moments of tears. There will be these moments of anger, and that's life. And I think that what's beautiful about you sharing your story here today on Level Up is that you give us that perspective to realize that no matter what it is we're going through, keep going, because life is ebbs and flows. I had a friend who recently, he passed away actually, that I remember when I was a kid, he sat at a bar with me. Why I was a kid at a bar having drinks with him is a whole different story. But he told me, he said, son, peaks and valleys. Life is full of peaks and then it's full of valleys. And you know, like that stuck with me. It's that perspective. And I think that when we talk about on this podcast, mental health, and we tell stories like this, we're wise if we step away from it with a level of perspective that we can take and put into our situation and go, look, no matter what it is that we're going through right now, have the perspective of knowing that there will be a shift and there will be a change. Often when we are feeling something, we feel so imprisoned to the moment in the feeling that we feel like it'll never leave, it'll never pass. And sometimes we make decisions and actions based on that feeling and that information. But the perspective that Tre gives us today is so important to hold on to, because it gives us a sense of a bigger picture to keep going. Tre, I could talk to you, man, for literally for hours, and I know that we will, and we will continue this dialogue and this conversation. For those of you that don't know this, you know, again, as I mentioned, Tre was a collegiate athlete at University of Pittsburgh. Yes, still are. And not only that, but you know, I point this out, Tre grew up in an inner city and he's a young Black man. And here he is just speaking so openly about his emotions and his mental health. Bro, you're breaking stigma. I love people that talk about breaking the stigma, but I love people that live it out. Like, we're not even sitting here and having conversations about, you know, why is it hard for Black and brown men in inner cities to talk about their feelings? You're just coming out the gate saying, I'm not even tripping off that. Like, this is how I feel. And that is what it's going to take to break stigma and move this thing forward. And I'm so glad you're out here talking, man. Tre, I appreciate you for joining us on Level Up here today, where people can follow you on Instagram. Did you already give them the handle? I can't remember. What's your Instagram handle?
I didn't give them the handle. It's at Tre Tip05. You can't miss me. It's a football picture of me going like this. And that's just me sharing love to the people. So yeah, it's at Tre Tip05. You can follow me also on Twitter the same way. So anything that you guys want to know or see, it's on my Instagram, and there'll be more videos coming soon. So.
And Tre, final question, because I know people are going to be asking for this in the comments. Where'd you get that hat at, man? Where'd you pick that one up?
I picked this up at Chance, man. I love the hat. I was like, hey, like, I'm going to try something different. And I think I like this one.
No, I've been seeing those recently. I've seen all kinds of things, butterflies, all sorts of different things on those fitted caps. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm not feeling the LA, but it's all good, man. Like, it's a beautiful hat. I know I'm thinking to myself, I got to get a Giants hat. I just don't know if there's enough room on the hat for all the different banners we got, but that's a different story, man. We'll talk about that a different day.
Hey.
Tre, I got so much love for you, man. And this is the beginning of many more conversations that we'll have, not only on this podcast, but with Cheat Code moving forward as we continue to welcome you as an ambassador. Thank you for everything you're doing in this field. Thank you for what you're doing for Black men. Thank you for what you're doing for human beings and sharing your story so openly. Love you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Much love.
All right. Until next time, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Level Up podcast. It's time to level up with Dr. Mondo.